Well, James Harden has reportedly turned down a 2-year extension with the Rockets that would have made him the first player in NBA history to earn $50 million per year. Harden has apparently made it clear to ownership his goal now is to force a trade to join up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn. However, Harden is still under contract until at least 2022, so Houston has no incentive to take any bad deal in exchange for the former MVP. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard is with us. Chris, how does this play out?
Wow, that's the talk around the league right now. And then speaking to some people yesterday, I was told a few things. One, right now the Rockets are solely focused on dealing with Russell Westbrook and trading him, seeing what they can get for him. They're not really paying that much attention at this moment to moving James Harden, because as you mentioned, they got great leverage with Harden, and he's one of the best players in their franchise's history. They really don't want to move him, as the extension showed. I also heard this, which surprised me a little bit, but I heard it from a few people. Philadelphia right now is all in on giving Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid a try. They want to see what Doc Rivers can do with these two and see if he can get the most out of them. So I think those are two important things, because if I'm Houston, my number one trade target for James Harden is Philadelphia, whether it's Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. So how does it play out? Look, the Rockets, as you said, have the leverage because of Harden's long-term contract. And if I'm them, I do not want what Brooklyn has to offer. I mean, the first thing is I'm probably telling Brooklyn any deals start with the name Kyrie Irving. All right, because if I get Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie, as good as they are, and maybe even Jarrett Allen, who I really like as a guy at the rim, you know what I am in the West? I'm just good enough to miss the playoffs. And not, and be low in the lottery.
Right.
Like, I'm not the worst team in the league. So I'm right there stuck in no man's land for the next few years with those guys. So I really don't want what Brooklyn's bringing me, and I have the leverage. So I'm telling Harden, look, you can forget the Brooklyn stuff. I'm sorry, it's not happening unless they begin with Kyrie Irving, and I'm not sure I'd even do that. So if I think what could happen is Houston starts the season with at least Harden, if not both of them. I'd like both of them if I'm, Westbrook and Harden if I'm Houston. But I think they started with at least Harden. See what happens in Philly. Because if it doesn't start out well in Philly with Simmons and Embiid and people conclude, you know what, they just don't work together, then maybe one of them is available at the trade deadline or next offseason. And now I can get one of those guys, and that'll be my building block. I don't want just some pretty good players I can get from Brooklyn.
Chris, you and I were talking. I thought the old mantra was, go west, young man. Seemed to me everybody going east. Why is everybody going east when the beast is in the west? Skip Bayless, I thought the settlers. I didn't read no history books where they going east to settle land.
Wait, the beast feasted on the east for years and years and years. He cakewalked to 8 straight finals out of the Eastern Conference.
And now, Chris, we come to the west.
Yeah.
Gone.
Oh,
Well, hold on. The Kawhi went west, and Paul George has found himself in the west. So everybody's not running.
And you see what happened? And what happened to Kawhi? He can't even get past the second round. Talking about us. But anyway, back to James Harden. If I'm looking at think about this. What did Milwaukee give up to get Holiday? I like Holiday. He's a very good player. He ain't James Harden. So you got to start with at least 4 first-round picks and 3 to 4 swaps. That'll get me on the phone. Now I'm going to need, maybe you're right, maybe I need Kyrie, LeVert, Dinwiddie. I'm going to need a king's ransom. You see what guys are giving up to get guys that aren't James Harden. But like you said, and Jenny and the Reed, they got him for 3 more years. They really don't have to do anything. But the thing that I do notice is that when superstars are upset in the NBA, teams are more apt to go ahead and move up off them. Now, New Orleans, give New Orleans credit. They held on to Anthony Davis for a year. They found out he was upset. They's like, no, even at the trade deadline, we're not doing it. But eventually.
Well, it took a change of GM to do that.
But eventually, if James Harden is unhappy, Chris, they're going to have to get up off him. There ain't nothing you can, there's no way around it. I get it. They're going to have him. If they keep him for this year, they still got him for 2 years. But he's unhappy. You're going to have to get up off him sooner or later. But like you said, Brooklyn, to me, I think Brooklyn has the most pieces. Nobody else has anything that they're going to want. Miami is not getting off, who do we say, Skip? Bam and Tyler Hero. That's not happening. Pat Riley's like, even for James Harden, Pat Riley's not getting off Bam. Bam is a non-starter for anybody.
So, Chris Broussard.
You don't like Philadelphia?
For Joel Embiid by himself is not bringing Houston out and nowhere in the West. You need multiple superstars to even think about contending in the West.
So, back to Chris. Chris made my head hurt with all of his ramifications because I'm still trying to process the potentiality, just the possibility of James Harden trying to figure out how to play with number one, Kyrie Irving, and number two, Kevin Durant in Brooklyn.
Right.
And yet Chris is throwing all these other curveballs over here. And obviously Daryl Morey is now running the Sixers. And I understand that potential. But again, if James is pushing like crazy to join especially Kevin Durant, and now you're saying, well, Houston would want Kyrie back. Well, that's a non-starter for the Brooklyn Nets because obviously
KD.
Yeah,
right.
well, it's because Kyrie chose the Nets in the first place, and he brought along Kevin Durant, who's like his best friend, who just says, "Oh, you don't want to go to the Knicks? You want to go to the Nets? Okay, let's just go to the Nets." And Kevin acted like he didn't even do any research on the Nets, and now they're there. Well, they have a brand new coach who's never coached one dribble in the NBA named Steve Nash. Great player, great guy. He has no idea how to juggle these kind of egos because he never really had these kind of three.
Nobody has juggled these kind of egos.
So, Chris, you and I have been covering this league for a long, long time, me even longer than you. And what I learned early on was you win in the NBA with stars, superstars. The more, the merrier. The more, the better your chances are. So I finally told Shannon, as much of a disaster as I think Kyrie and James Harden would be, and I know it's even a long shot hypothetical, but it would be chaos and disaster for those two to try to figure out how to share the basketball. Man, if I ran the Nets, I'd say this is potential chaos, but I'm going to do it. If I could do it, I would do it because I'd have a revolutionary player in James Harden. I'd have one of the clutchest players I've ever seen in Kyrie Irving. And I'd have, to me, the best player on the planet in Kevin Durant. And then you just say, Steve, good luck. Go figure it out. Because you just have to. You just have to say, I'm closing my eyes and I'm going to try this. And again, if you have to give up all those pieces that you say Houston wouldn't want, I'd give them everything. You know, LeVert, Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Taurean Prince, name them all. You can have all of them.
I want KD.
Okay. Well, do you want KD?
I want KD if I'm Houston.
All right. Well, you would. You would ask for KD. But that's not the point for Brooklyn.
No, it's not.
It's KD and Kyrie saying, hey, we could get James. Let's bring James here.
I think that's KD saying that. I don't think Kyrie's.
Well, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Right.
Go ahead, Chris.
I hear you, Skip. I mean, obviously, if, say they get James Harden, you got to give him a shot, right? It is not a fit, period.
No.
It just doesn't fit. And as you said, when you have a big three that doesn't fit perfectly, one of them has to take a step back and kind of become a glorified role player. We saw it with Kevin Love.
Yep.
We saw it with Chris Bosh.
We did.
You know, we've now, if the three pieces fit like Golden State with KD and Steph and Clay, then everybody can do their thing. Or even you go, Boston with Garnett, Pierce, and Allen. But these are three guys in Brooklyn, would be in Brooklyn, used to having the ball in their hands. And look, I love with them bringing Mike D'Antoni as the assistant coach, But D'Antoni now, every offense he's ever run has one guy dominating the ball and making decisions for everybody else. All the way back to Steve Nash in Phoenix. And it worked with Nash because he was pass first. How is that working with these three guys? I actually think Harden would be best suited to have the ball, drop his scoring average by about 10 points, lead him in assists, and Kyrie and Durant off the ball. But one, is Harden willing to do that? Two, is Kyrie willing to get off the ball? So I agree. I think Kyrie is the biggest challenge with these three. I think Durant and Harden would be great together. But, Skip, look, we saw it in Houston. Remember Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, and Hakeem Olajuwon. And everybody says they were old. They were still at the end of their prime. They were coming off great seasons individually elsewhere, and they came together and it never worked. So I think this would be a crazy, wild chemistry experiment that, to your point, potentially could pay dividends, but I got serious doubts about how it will work.
You know, for me, sometimes you can ask too much of a good thing, and it looks good. You know, I don't eat potato salad, but, you know, you got your potatoes, you get your eggs, you get your mayo, and then somebody's like, hey, let's add raisins and pecan. Man, get out of here. You just ruined a good dish. You got KD, you got Kyrie, you got LeVert, you got Dinwiddie, and now you try to add all this extra stuff. Skip, I get it. Man, that's James Harden. It is hard to turn down superstar talent. But, man, you can't put all this together and think it's going to be a good dish. Skip,